We're back with another build, and this time we are going to go with the Assassin's Creed set from Universes Beyond, and I chose Altair Ibn La Ahad. Many of you might know him as the first main character of Assassin's Creed. He is a red, white, black human assassin with first strike. And whenever Altair Ibn La Ahad attacks, exile up to one target assassin creature card from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Then for each creature card you own in exile with a memory counter on it, create a tap and attacking token that's a copy of it, and you exile those tokens at the end of combat. Whenever Altair attacks, you're going to exile an assassin from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. And whenever he attacks, you're going to create a copy of whatever you have with a memory counter on it. Let's say somebody wipes the board. You're going to bring Altair back from the command zone. Next turn, you're going to exile one of your assassins from your graveyard. And when you do, you're going to create a token of them that's attacking at the same time. And then you exile the token. But if each one of your assassins has a memory counter on it, you can create a token that's a copy of each one of them, so they all attack at the same time. Next up, we have Assassin Initiate. It's a 1-drop with a really interesting ability. So for 1 mana, Assassin Initiate gains your choice of flying, dead touch, or lifelink until end of turn. And you can actually use that ability on your opponent's turn as well. So let's say someone is attacking you with a really large creature, and you want to get that thing off the field. You can tap 1 mana, give Assassin Initiate Death Touch, and take the creature out. You can also give it flying just in case you need to get over your opponent's creatures and hit them directly. We have Royal Assassin, and its ability to me is amazing. When you tap it, you can destroy a target tapped creature. So let's say someone just attacked you. You can tap Royal Assassin and destroy their strongest creature that's tapped. Or if you pair it with something else that allows you to tap an opponent's creature, you can tap your opponent's creature, then tap Royal Assassin and destroy it. We have Layla Hassan. First strike, and when Layla Hassan enters the battlefield, and whenever 1 or more assassins you control deal combat damage to a player, return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. Any legendary creature that you have counts as a historic. So, if one of your legendary creatures is destroyed, you can bring them back to your hand with Layla. Artifacts, enchantments, legendaries all count as historic, so if they get destroyed, you can bring them back, making Layla a must-have for this deck. Shay Cormac. And I know, he's not an assassin, he's a Templar, but hear me out. His ability is ridiculous. 1 mana, with permanents your opponents control, lose hexproof, indestructible, protection, shroud, and ward until end of turn. So if somebody decides that they're going to buff their creature, give it indestructible, Shay can take it away and then you can destroy it. And whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, put a bounty counter on that creature. And then whenever a creature with a bounty counter on it dies, put 2+1/+1 counters on Shay Cormac. So even if his first ability is activated, you can then activate his third ability and put 2+1/+1 counters on him. So Shay can continuously get stronger while he's taking away abilities from your opponent's creatures. Arbaz Mir. Whenever Arbaz Mir or another non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, Arbaz Mir deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. So anytime you play another legendary creature or an artifact or an enchantment, Arbaz Mir deals 1 damage to everyone and you gain 1 life. Next up we have Bayek of Siwa. He has double strike, and as long as it's your turn, other historic creatures you control have double strike, and he has disguise for 1 mana of any color, 1 red, and 1 white. He starts out as a 3/4, but with double strike, he deals damage twice. So he'll end up doing 6 damage to your opponent instead. And any other legendary creature that you have, they're going to have double strike as well. Now the interesting thing is the disguise. So for that 3 mana, you can actually play Bayek face down, and then you can flip him anytime later on for his disguise cost. so that way you can play him cheaper than his actual mana cost. Aya of Alexandria. She has Menace and Lifelink, and whenever a historic creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Menace. So anytime one of your legendary creatures deals combat damage, you're going to create an assassin that can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. So with Aya, you're going to continuously grow your army of assassins. Arno Dorian has Death Touch, and other assassins you control get +2/+0. And he also has Disguise 2, 1 black and red. Aya will come in and create assassins. Arno will make them even stronger. And like Bayek, you can play him for his disguise cost, that way you get to save mana. Roshan Hidden Magister. Other creatures you control are assassins in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Face down creatures you control have Menace, and whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So as long as she's out on the battlefield, all of your creatures are assassins in addition to their other types. So if you have something that buffs assassins, every non-assassin that you have will be buffed as well. And whenever you play someone for their disguise cost and you flip them face up, you get to draw a card. Even though you lose a life, we're going to come back to that. Raven Eagle has flying, and whenever this creature enters or attacks, you're going to exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. It doesn't have to be yours. If a creature card is exiled this way, create a clue token. In clue tokens, you pay 2 mana and you sacrifice them, you get to draw a card. And whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So if you play Roshan Hidden Magister and you flip a creature over for its disguise cost and you lose 1 life, you can gain that life back with Raven Eagle. If you're playing against someone who likes to play from their graveyard, Raven Eagle can continuously exile creatures from their graveyard and give you a buff at the same time. Next up, we have Ezio Brash Novice. Whenever Ezio Brash Novice attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And as long as Ezio has 2 or more counters on it, it has first strike and is an assassin in addition to its other types. Ezio is a 2 mana creature that continuously gets stronger each and every time you attack. And even without Roshan's ability, Ezio is still going to become an assassin. Next up, we have Combustion Man, or Sparky Boom Man. Whenever Combustion Man attacks, destroy target permanent unless its controller has Combustion Man deal damage to them equal to his power. So every time you attack with him, you get to destroy an opponent's permanent. If your opponent chooses to just take the damage instead, Combustion Man deals damage equal to his power. Meaning that anytime you increase his power, you increase the amount of damage that your opponent is forced to take if they choose not to sacrifice a permanent in the process. Sawblade Skin Ripper has Menace, and for 2 mana you get to sacrifice another permanent or enchantment and you put a +1/+1 counter on Sawblade Skin Ripper. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 1 or more permanents this way, Sawblade Skin Ripper deals that much damage to any target. So Aya can create a token, you can sacrifice it, and then put a +1/+1 counter on Sawblade Skin Ripper, and you can deal that damage to any target in the process. Senu Keen-Eyed Protector has flying and vigilance. Tap Senu to exile it, and you gain 2 life and scry 2. Whenever a legendary creature you control attacks and isn't blocked, if Senu is exiled, put it onto the battlefield attacking. Let's say you have Aya and there aren't enough creatures to block her due to her having Menace. You can exile Senu, gain 2 life, scry 2, attack with Aya, and then bring Senu back. We have Lurking Deadeye with Flash, and when Lurking Deadeye enters the battlefield, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. So if you deal damage to a target creature, whether you're in combat or not, you flash in Lurking Deadeye will then destroy that creature. Raffine's Silencer. When Raffine's Silencer enters the battlefield, it connives, meaning you draw a card, then you discard, and if you discarded a non-land card, you put a +1/+1 counter on Raffine's Silencer. And whenever Raffine's Silencer is no longer on the field, target creature an opponent controls gets -X to end the turn, where X is Raffine's Silencer's power. As long as her power can equal or surpass another creature's toughness, then she will take them out with her. We have Thrill Assassin. She has Death Touch and Unleash. With Unleash, you can choose to have her enter with a +1/+1 counter, but she can't block, as long as she has a counter. Tithe Drinker has Lifelink and Extort. So with Lifelink, any damage that's dealt by her, you gain that much life. She also has Extort, so whenever you cast a spell, you can either pay 1 white or 1 black, and if you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. So anytime you cast a spell, you can pay 1 white or 1 black, and then you gain life, and your opponent loses life. Anytime you see a split mana, you can use either color. You don't have to use both. Garner the Blood Flame. When Garner the Blood Flame enters the battlefield, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere this turn. Other creatures you control have haste. This one is especially good if you play against people that like to board wipe. So imagine you have 10 assassins on the field, somebody wipes the board, you flash in Garner, they all come back, and they all have haste, so they can all attack that same turn. If I butcher this one, please forgive me, and let me know in the comments. The Capitoline Triad. Those who came before. This spell costs 1 less mana to cast for each historic card in your graveyard, so if somebody does wipe the board and they take away all of your artifacts, for example, this 10 costing mana will go down for each one. And you can exile any number of historic cards from your graveyard with total mana value 30 or greater, and you get an emblem with creatures you control have base power and toughness 9/9. Imagine you have Aya on the field after you play this. Any assassin that she creates will go from a 1/1 to a 9/9. But we're going to get into Mana Rocks. Mana Rocks are artifacts that give you mana. This is Soul Ring. It costs 1 mana and you get to tap it for 2. We have Arcane Signet. You can tap it for any color in your commander's color identity. Monolith can be tapped for any color. Orzhov Cluestone. You can tap it to either add white or black. Azorius Cluestone can be tapped for either white or blue. Rakdos Cluestone can be tapped for black or red. Then you have the Animus. It wouldn't be an Assassin's Creed deck without the Animus, now would it? At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target legendary creature card from a graveyard with a memory counter on it. It doesn't have to be your graveyard. So if one of your opponents has a legendary creature in their graveyard, you can exile it and put a memory counter on it. And when you tap it until your next turn, target legendary creature you control becomes a copy of target creature card in exile with a memory counter on it and activate it as a sorcery. So if you just exiled a legendary creature and it has an ability that you really want to play, you can use it. We have Gilded Pinions. When Gilded Pinions enters the battlefield, create a treasure token, and equipped creature has flying. The same goes for Zephyr Boots. And whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and discard a card. You can't be a member of the Brotherhood without Brotherhood Regalia. Equipped creature has Ward 2, is an assassin in addition to its other types, and can't be blocked. If you're using this on a legendary creature, it costs less mana to equip and gives them Ward 2 mana. If anybody tries to target a creature that you have this equipped to, they have to pay an additional 2 mana or it won't work. Of course, we have Hidden Blade. It has Flash, And when Hidden Blade enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. If that creature is an assassin, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. An equipped creature gets a +1/+0 and has first strike. And if someone is attacking you with a strong creature, you can flash in Hidden Blade, attach it to whatever creature you want, and take them out. And of course, we wouldn't have Assassin's Creed without Haystack. Haystack is fantastic when it comes to saving your creatures, because when you pay 2 mana and you tap it, you get to phase out a creature, which basically means you're taking them out of existence for the rest of your turn, and they'll come back on your next turn. You can save one creature with Haystack. This is another one that I might butcher the name of. Please bear with me, and again, let me know in the comments. Caduceus, Staff of Hermes. Equipped creature has lifelink, and as long as you have 30 or more life, equipped creature gets +5/+5 and has indestructible and prevent all damage that will be dealt to this creature. Then we have Reconstruct History. With it, you can return one target artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, and planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand. And Cathartic Reunion. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard 2 cards and draw 3 cards. Cathartic Reunion can really come in handy in a pinch. If you don't have the cards you need, then you might get lucky. We have Overpowering Attack with free running 3. Anytime you deal damage to a player with an assassin or your commander, you can play this for its free running cost, so you can play it cheaper than its regular mana cost. If you've gone all out and you've attacked with everyone, you can untap all of your creatures and you can attack again. We have Walk the Plank. Destroy target non-merfolk creature. I haven't run across that many players who actually play with merfolk creatures, so this one to me is a really good spell to be able to destroy creatures. This one is an interesting one, so we have Claim and Fame. You can play either one. So if you play Claim, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, or you can choose to play Fame from your graveyard. Fame has an aftermath ability, so you can play it from your graveyard and then you have to exile it. So you can play Claim first and then Fame later. And target creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. We have Solar Blaze. Each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. It's always good to have board wipes in a commander deck. And in this one, you can bring your creatures back. Speaking of bringing creatures back, we have Restart Sequence. Free running 2, and you get to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. We have other board wipes in this deck as well, such as Descend Upon the Sinful, exile all creatures. Delirium, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. We also have Doomscar, destroy all creatures, foretell 3. During your turn, you may pay 2 mana and exile this card from your hand face down, and you can cast it later on for its foretell cost. And we have Farewell. You can choose 1 or more. You can exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or graveyards. We also have the Day of Black Sun. Each creature with mana value X or less loses all abilities until end of turn. Destroy those creatures. So let's say you play 5 additional mana for the X cost of Day of Black Sun. Any creature with mana value 5 or less is going to be destroyed. And we have the Rise of Sozin. It's a saga that can transform. For its first ability, destroy all creatures. Second, choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name in exile, and then that player shuffles. In its final step, exile the saga and return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. So after you do that, you transform to Fire Lord Sozin. He has Menace and Firebending 3. So whenever he attacks, you add 3 red mana that lasts until the end of combat. And whenever Fire Lord Sozin deals combat damage to a player, you may pay X. When you do, put any number of target creature cards with total mana value X or less from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So let's say you play 5 mana, then any number of target creatures with mana value 5 or less you can take from your opponent's graveyard and put them under your control. We have Go for the Throat, destroy target non-artifact creature. Mortify, destroy target creature or enchantment. You are already destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Draw a card. Terminate, destroy target creature and it can't be regenerated. So if somebody has a creature with the ability to regenerate, that means they can pay a certain amount of mana and keep their creature. But with Terminate, they're not able to. Ring of Valkas, equipped creature has haste. And at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on it if it's red. So if you equip Ring of Valkas to Sparky Boom Man, it gets stronger. We have Saw. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. And whenever equipped creature attacks, you may sacrifice a permanent other than that creature or Saw. And if you do, you draw a card. Anytime you attack, you can sacrifice a permanent and get an extra draw. We have Yggdrasil Rebirth Engine. When it enters the battlefield, exit all creature cards from your graveyard. You can choose to exile the top 3 cards of your library, or you can pay 4 mana, tap Yggdrasil Rebirth Engine, and put a creature card exiled with Yggdrasil onto the battlefield under your control, and it gains haste until end of turn. That way you can still bring your creature back. We have Hookblade. When Hookblade enters the battlefield, you can attach it to target creature you control. It gets a +1/+0, and as long as it's your turn, it has flying. So imagine you equip this to Aya, and on your turn, she has flying, and whenever she deals combat damage, you create an assassin token. We have Phantom Blade. And when Phantom Blade enters the battlefield, you can attach it up to one target creature you control, and then immediately destroy another target creature. An equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has menace. You have Hidden Footblade. It has flash, and when it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control, and that creature gains first strike until end of turn. They also get a +1/+0 and haste. So if you're blocking a creature and both creatures will destroy each other, you can flash in Hidden Blade, give them a +1/+0 and first strike so they can survive the attack. Next up, we have Bleeding Effect. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control gain flying until end of turn if a creature card in your graveyard has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. So if any creature in your graveyard has any of these abilities, all of your creatures can have them. So if any creature in your graveyard has any of those abilities, all of your creatures can have those abilities on your turn. Cover of Darkness. As Cover of Darkness enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have fear. That means that they can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. So if you play this and then you choose assassins, every creature that you have is an assassin if you have Roshan on the field. So all of them, even Shay Cormac, can have fear. We have Rest in Peace. When Rest in Peace enters the battlefield, exile all graveyards. If a card or token will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This one is good if you're playing against people that play from their graveyard. Next up, the Revelations of Ezio, another saga, but this one doesn't transform. Its first ability is destroy target tapped creature an opponent controls. Second ability, whenever an assassin you control attacks this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. In its third ability, return target assassin creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Origin of the Hidden Ones. First ability, Origin of the Hidden Ones deals 4 damage to any target. Second, create 2 1/1 black assassin creature tokens with menace. And third, whenever an assassin you control attacks this turn, create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with menace that's tapped and attacking. So this one is good for if you're trying to generate tokens. Chandra Nalaar. She's a planeswalker with 3 abilities. +1, Chandra Nalaar deals 1 damage to target player. -X, Chandra Nalaar deals X damage to target creature. And -8, Chandra Nalaar deals 10 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. So as long as you have enough loyalty counters on her, she can count as a board wipe. Lastly, we have Chandra, Heart of Fire, another planeswalker. +1, discard your hand and exile the top 3 cards of your library until end of turn. You may play cards exiled this way. So if you exile the top 3 cards of your library, you can play those 3 cards without having to worry about just pulling one of them. Its other +1 ability, Chandra, Heart of Fire, deals 2 damage to any target, and -9. Search your graveyard and library for any number of red, instant, and or sorcery cards. Exile them, then shuffle your library. You may cast them this turn. Add 6 red. So you get to search for any red, instant, or sorcery card that you've already played. Exile them, shuffle your library, and then you can play them again. And you can add 6 red mana so that you can play them without having to spend any additional mana. Thanks for watching and stay tuned as we dive more into these commander decks.